Crude oil. Over the last couple of weeks, crude oil has rallied by around 12%. That is a significant gain, so let's have a look at what's going on. Welcome to myfinanceteacher.org, where we do trade crude oil, energy, as well as other commodities with a specific focus on precious metals. Coming back to energy, we have been trading energy trying to get in around these lows with some gradual accumulation. These B letters show us where we were buying somewhere around the levels of 78 to 80 on XLE, then reducing our positions significantly around the level of 88 or so, where these S's are showing the timing of our sales, jumping back in more recently over the last couple of weeks after a bit of a cool down. And yesterday our partial sell limit was hit at 92. I'm still holding 70% of my position in XLE. After all, crude oil and this energy ETF is getting a little bit overbought. We'll get to overbought in a few seconds. For now though, let's review the cycles, which generally last for just under half a year or so. But the actual duration of any particular cycle can vary. Over the last several years, we've seen cycles as short as 104 days and as long as 233 days. More recently, the cycles have been somewhat tricky with this deep reversal candle in May, which gave us a slightly lower low than the low in March. So it's a bit hard to say whether the cycle lasting through the end of 2022 finished in March or May. This rally in April though is significant enough for a new cycle in crude oil, so I think this is a case of a bit of a fake out with this one-day candle poke below the previous low. And I tend to look at the previous cycle lasting from March into June this year. In that case, the ongoing cycle is 70 days long. Alternatively, you might actually stretch the beginning of this cycle all the way back to May, giving us a cycle lasting for 125 days already. As I mentioned, I prefer the previous cycle count. And in either case, we see crude oil is getting a little bit into overbought area, and it's beginning to poke above relatively wide Bollinger Bands. They're not extremely wide, so they can still widen a little bit further, and usually we see several pokes, at least a couple of pokes, before a bit of a turnaround in momentum. Hence, there is still some potential in crude oil and energy ETFs to continue pushing a little bit higher, but over the next several weeks, caution will be advised. Perhaps over these several weeks, crude oil might actually try to test the next resistance zone, which is based on late 2022 highs. That would be just above $92 on crude oil. And if crude oil does reach around 92 over the next few weeks, that improves the market sentiment even further. By the way, looking at the market sentiment, this was our view in the previous video where we were expecting another push higher after a short-term cool down. This is the current view of the market sentiment. That's exactly what happened. A bit of a cool down and a further push higher. We're currently at 57, the red line is around 60, so the optimism index also agrees that there might still be further room to push higher, although some caution might be advised relatively soon, perhaps in the next few weeks. Isn't it nice when some of your favorite indicators align with resistance levels on the charts? Talking about the alignment, there is also alignment from seasonality. You might look at seasonality from 2013, that's as far as season X goes, or alternatively you might look at crude oil seasonality from 2016, as that's the time when the previous significant bear in crude oil finished. If you remember, the news around that time were all full of oil gluts. In either case, looking at September and October, we see that crude oil generally trends higher sometime into early to mid-October. That aligns with our expectation of perhaps another push higher in crude oil over the next few weeks. And again, after that, some caution will be advised. For much more frequent and detailed updates on a range of commodities, including energy, precious metals, general stock markets, and the lot, join us at myfinanceteacher.org. Do that today. Right now though, what you have to do is hit the like button, share the video with your friends, and make sure you have a wonderful Wednesday.